everybody so much for taking time to view MNI University today. My name is Katie. I'm with MNI. I have been brand ambassador at MNI for 12 years now, and MNI has been around for over 110 years. We're the country's oldest and largest compiler of industrial manufacturing data. We connect buyers and sellers in the industrial world and provide other valuable resources for industrial B2B sales and marketing. Today, I'd like to introduce you to my friend Nate Wheeler, who is going to teach us everything that we need to know to get started on taking advantage of SEO and gathering your leads and building your business. So, Nate, go ahead.
All right. Thanks, Katie. Yep. So I'm Nate Wheeler. I am the owner of We Create Website Design and Marketing. I also own a small marketing firm called Wheeler Consulting Co. And really, with the We Create LLC, we actively do marketing. We serve as kind of the marketing function for various business to business and manufacturing companies. And then on the consulting side, I really just try to help marketing teams understand the basics of marketing a little bit better. I've noticed really across the board with internal marketing teams, there tends to be some gaps on the subject of search engine optimization. And so, it's one of those things that you really can't be ignored. And so I love to teach about it. And I love the power of it when it's done correctly. Just a little background on me. I kind of started off in the adult world as a mechanical engineering student at Penn State Behrend, and I did 2.5 years of that, and then I decided engineering wasn't for me, so I signed up as a Marine Corps infantry guy and served 4 years in the Marine Corps. Got out and served one tour over in Iraq as an advisor to the Iraqi army, where we were basically a 15-man team attached to an Iraqi army battalion, and we went on their missions with them and trained them and kind of taught them how to do things. But so got back from that, finished up my undergrad locally, where I am now in Edinburgh, Pennsylvania. And then I moved out to San Diego, got a master's degree in business, and still kind of trying to find my way, trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life at that point. And I think we're talking, almost 15 years ago. And I met a friend out there who owned a website that sold skateboarding lessons. And so this website was, he used SEO, he used Google Ads, and he was getting just tons and tons of leads around the country, people looking for skateboarding lessons for their kids. And he didn't have anybody to sell these. And I was, just kind of looking for something to do. He said, "Hey, Nate, you want to try to sell skateboarding lessons?" And I said, "Well, I'd sure be willing to give it a shot." No real experience in sales, but I've always been pretty confident I could knock out any task needed. So he handed me this list, and I make the first phone call, and I sold his biggest package. And he's like, "Wow, man, we are going to make so much money." So I did that for a while with him. We had a great time in his little apartment in San Diego, and what one thing I noticed when I was getting these was on these calls, I was always getting parents asking me, "Where can I buy a skateboard for my kids before the lessons?" So I really saw this market opportunity, and I wanted to start a website that sold kids skateboards. So I bought this domain, skateboardforkids.com, and found somebody to help me build it. And this was after I moved back to Erie or Edinburgh, and built the website. And pretty soon I'm at the top search results for kids skateboards. And I make that sound really easy, but I spent countless hours going through forums trying to figure out how to do SEO, how to get ranked, how to build backlinks. And there's just so much information out there. It can be overwhelming. It can be confusing. It can be conflicting. And so it took me quite a few years, but eventually I really was able to kind of wrap my head around how to get ranked and how to do it consistently and how to not really have to stress that much about it, just trying to have a repeatable system that really works. And I think what really led me to that was just kind of adopting the mindset of, if I was a search engine, what would I look for? What would I want to see? And so SEO, as I very briefly define it, is simply the process of getting ranked higher in search results for the terms that are going to bring you business. So we divide SEO into two distinct topics. The first topic is on-page SEO. So on-page SEO primarily deals with the content and the keywords that are used on your website. And I'm going to get a little bit deeper, well, quite a bit deeper into exactly what on-page SEO is and how you need to approach it. The other side of SEO is off-page SEO. So off-page SEO is the primary indicator of good off-page SEO is good backlinks. And backlinks are simply links from other websites that point back to your website. An example of a backlink is, and I'm sure Katie would be happy to chime in here, but industrynet.com. So this is a manufacturing specific directory, which is the first key with backlinks is industry relevance. Okay, so you have an industry specific directory, digital directory that has listings for members, and those listings contain links which point back to those member websites. So that's a very simple example of a backlink. And there's a lot of ways to build backlinks, but one of the first ways that I do it when I'm approaching SEO for a new client is to look for industry specific directories like this. They're quick, they're easy, they're already set up for that. But I'm not going to get too far into the topic of backlinks or off page today, just because there's so much to talk about on the subject of on page SEO. And so really what I'm going to do first is just share my screen with you, and we are going to start to go through some on-page SEO. I'm going to show you some of my clients. And if anybody on the call is interested, we have some time towards the tail end of this conversation, I'd love to take a look at one of your websites and just give you a kind of an on-the-spot evaluation of your on-page and give you some tips and tricks. So just kind of keep that in mind. And if you're interested, just throw it in the chat and I'll take a look at it. Okay, so the first site I'm going to show you here, well, you can see I have a directory pulled up. I'll actually pull up IndustryNet so you can see an example here. So on IndustryNet, we've got this category, and I'm going back to off-page SEO because I have it up. So we have this category of aluminum. So people that deal with aluminum, fabrication of aluminum, casting of aluminum, and you can see at the top here we've got our featured suppliers. And right here you see website, and that links directly back to that company's website. That's a great example of a back. So I would recommend that all of you have a offline conversation with Katie, and get that set up. All right. So as far as a example of on page, I'm pulling up one of my customers here. The company is Custom Engineering. And the topic that we're dealing with here is industrial base plate fabrication. So basically, these are plates that large pieces of machinery set on. And so in order to be able to do this function of industrial base plate fabrication, you need to be able to have some pretty large lifting cranes. You need to have some pretty large, machining and fabrication welding capabilities. So when this customer came to me, they were really getting nothing from the web. We built them a new website and started to generate some new content, generated some backlinks. And before you know it, we've really got them up to the top of search results for a lot of very, very valuable keyword sets. But in this particular case, we just say if somebody's looking for a base plate for a piece of machinery in the industrial sector, what are they going to Google? And so this is really the first step in kind of doing your on-page SEO. And that's just really understanding the intent of the person that's looking and selecting a great keyword set that's going to, more or less address what that person would Google. So we picked the keyword set in industrial base plate fabrication here. And down here, you can see we have kind of a heading that just says, here's why you should work with us. Here's why we're good at this. And then our get a quote button. So really, I don't care if someone reads any further on this page. It's not important to me. What I really care about is that they get a quote if they're in my target market. But what I do care about is that Google sees this as a well-developed page on a topic. And this is something that a lot of companies miss. because one of the most common things I hear from companies, I don't want a lot of content on my website. I don't want people to get lost in it. And I say that's fine. Let's focus on the important details at the top and then have quick access to that call to action. But we do need to provide enough information so Google assumes that when somebody Googles that term, this page is going to answer their questions. And so down here, you can see we have a decent amount of content built out about the topic of base plate fabrication. Now, this is a very low competition keyword. So we didn't really see the need to generate a ton of content for this. And so the one point I would make is that the more competitive the search term is that you're going after, the more detailed your page is going to be able to cover that. And I'm going to show you a really good example of that in a minute. But just to kind of show you the result of this, I'm going to go over to Google search, and I'm just going to Google industrial base plate fabrication. Okay, so just so you understand a page of search results. And actually, before I go any further, I'm just going to let you all know if there's a question, just pop it into the chat. And Katie, feel free to interrupt me and let me know the question if it's on the topic that I'm talking about. I don't want to lose anybody. Okay, so at the top of search results here, we have our sponsored listings. Now, these are pay per click. So every time someone clicks on this, it's going to cost this company, I don't know, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, sometimes $50. And so really what you're doing is you're bidding for keywords. Fulcrum Pro said, hey, we want to rank for the term industrial base plate fabrication, probably in addition to, a couple hundred other keywords. And it's a bidding process. So the more people that want to rank for that keyword, the more you're going to have to pay for it. So when we're talking about search engine optimization, we're really not talking about pay-per-click. We're talking about organic results, okay? So underneath the sponsored listings, you see your first organic search result. And in this case, it happens to be my customer, custom engineering. So why did Google decide to rank custom engineering for this keyword set? Well, that's because we built out a page of content that was dedicated to the keyword set that we wanted to rank for. So what we see in the search result too is we see obviously the company name, we see the URL of the page that's ranking for that keyword, we see our SEO title, and then we see our meta description. So when we jump back to custom engineering's page, I want to kind of show you some of these areas. So when I hover my mouse here at the top, you can see my SEO title. So your SEO title is one of the first places Google is going to look to identify what this page of content is about. And so obviously you see that keyword set industrial base plate fabrication up there with some other additional keywords. This is another topic that's very important. And it goes back to the idea of keyword competition. So the more competitive a keyword is, the more you're going to have to keep that page solely focused on the keyword set that you want to rank for. Once again, in this case, this keyword was fairly low competition, so we felt pretty safe inserting some other keywords in this like steel and metal. And so just if somebody's typing in variations of those keywords, this page is also going to populate. Okay, so that's your SEO title. Now the meta description, you're only going to see that in the back end of your website. And I actually have an example here pulled up with, if you're using WordPress, if your website's built on WordPress, you can add a plugin called Yoast SEO. I highly recommend it. And this tool will kind of help you analyze your on-page search engine optimization. And it'll also give you these nice, easy fields to enter in your SEO title and your meta description. So you're only going to see the meta description in search results and in the back end of your website. The SEO title, you'll see it up here in your tab, and you'll also see it in the back end here, and you'll see it in search results. So those are the kind of the core areas. So then the next area that's important is your H1. So your H1 is going to be your largest heading on the page. So once again, your H1 should contain your core keyword set. Then you have your body content. So your body content is just the main content on the website. If you're going after a very competitive keyword, you're going to want to make sure that you have that core keyword set in somewhere in the beginning of the content. And then you're going to want to repeat that keyword set a couple times throughout the content. In this particular case, this page probably only has about 300-400 words of content. So we're only going to really repeat that keyword set maybe 2, 3, 4 times max. If you get into 1,000 words, 1,500 words, you're going to want to ramp that up a little bit and occasionally insert that same keyword set. Because once again, Google it's AI technology. It's a bot that analyzes your content. We have to make it very clear to that AI that this page should rank for this keyword set. You do have to be cautious. You don't want to overdo it because that bot is also going to see if there's kind of spammy content generation practices going on. So you want it to kind of have a natural flow, and you don't want to repeat that exact keyword set over and over and over again. It's just not going to benefit you. Let me pause there for just a minute and see if there's any questions that I can answer.
Don't have any questions in the chat box at all.
Okay, no questions yet. All right, so we've covered kind of the basics of on page, well-constructed page. So now one of the things that oftentimes companies struggle with or marketers struggle with when they're trying to rank for highly competitive terms is just they'll generate piece after piece after piece on that topic and just really not get the traction. They're sitting somewhere number 30, number 40, number 50 in search results and just not getting where they need to be. So I'm going to share with you a pretty interesting tip that it's taken me a little while to figure out, and I think it's going to serve you really well if you understand it. So I'll give you an example. A while back, this customer, PHB Corporation, which you just saw the back end of their website, we built our website and we were able to get them ranked fairly quickly for some of their lower competition keywords. But what we really wanted to do was rank for just what we call a short tail keyword. And a short tail keyword is basically just the core keyword set and not something additional like manufacturer or precision or things like that. So we wanted to rank for just the term aluminum die casting. Now, this is a pretty competitive keyword. So we had to kind of come up with a strategy for how we were going to do that. So I just kind of asked myself the question, if someone Googled the term aluminum die casting, there's a lot of reasons they could Google that. They could be a student looking for information about aluminum die casting. They could be looking for the service of aluminum die casting. Perhaps they're writing their own article about aluminum die casting and they're doing a little bit of preliminary research. So there's a lot of reasons why somebody would Google that term. And that's in contrast with a keyword set like aluminum die casting manufacturer. If somebody Googles that term, we call that a transactional keyword. That's somebody that's looking for the service of aluminum die casting. It's pretty simple to understand what they're looking for. So if somebody's Googling that short tail keyword, what we need to do is we need to provide Google with the evidence that we're more likely than not going to answer the question of the person that was Googling that term. So what we do in a case like this is we generate a very comprehensive piece that would answer pretty much every question we could think of on the topic of aluminum die casting. Okay. So I'm going to go over to search results and I'm just going to Google this term aluminum die casting. All right. So you've got our featured snippet, which someone has got pulled in for that. But after that, our first organic listing here is PHB Corporation. So we were able to get them to the top of search results for the term aluminum die casting by writing this piece. And so if we click through to it, you'll kind of see what we did here. Basically, we just said, what is aluminum die casting? That's our SEO title. We have some featured bullet points. So this is something Google loves. They love short, concise definitions of something. Whatever it is you're trying to rank for, aluminum die casting is blank. So we gave them that definition. We give them some bullet points. We have our calls to action for the people that are actually here for transactional reasons. Then we cover a lot of different information about aluminum die casting, the process, the advantages, history, on and on and on. So we've really answered all the questions most people would have about aluminum die casting. Google loved it and they wanted to rank it. So that's something I think all of you can kind of take home and utilize that technique to rank for some competitive search terms. All right. So one other topic that I wanted to cover, kind of going back to where do you start when you are trying to analyze what do I need to rank for? What's a good keyword for me? What's going to have some volume to it? What's going to actually get me some leads and generate some profits? So one tool that I highly recommend everyone utilizes if they're doing this on-page SEO is Google Search Console. So Google Search Console gives us very specific information about organic search results. So essentially what happens is you sign up for Google Search Console, you put a tracking code on your website, it's completely free, and it's going to show you what people are Googling and finding your website in search results for. So in this case, I have a company called Lake Erie Rubber pulled up. So Lake Erie Rubber is one of my customers. He came to me because he was having a problem with his current web provider. He needed a website quickly. So we actually ended up utilizing a template for him. A lot of the websites we build are custom. Some of the ones I showed you before are custom. And so basically we pre-made a template that was focused on small manufacturers, and we were able to very quickly get this website stood up for him. So after we got the website up, he wanted to do some search engine optimization services. So we started doing that process. And about a month and a half after we built this website, a company reached out to him. And it was so funny because they said, we Googled this same search term a month ago and we couldn't find what we were looking for. We tried it again and we found you. And so this was a really, really tangible example of how powerful this is. Long story short, that phone call turned into a $2 million acquisition. And we have just continued to generate more and more results for him. And he's getting leads virtually every day, for rubber molding. So back to Google Search Console, this tool is going to show us a list of keywords. So what we can see here is, top EDPM rubber. So this is a term that someone has Googled, and over 16 months, he has got 3,896 clicks. So that he's got 3,896 visitors to his website after they Googled the search term EPDM rubber. So in this column, we can see impressions. Impressions are simply views in search results. So a moment ago, when I was Googling search terms and I was kind of scrolling down that page of search results, everyone that I saw got an impression. So impressions are kind of a valuable metric because they allow us to kind of analyze how many people are looking for something and compare the respective value of keywords. So there's one more column that I can add here, and that's average position. And average position is really only meaningful when we're looking at a specific keyword. So when we look at EDPM rubber, we can click through to this keyword. And we can see that back here, 16 months ago, he was really nowhere to be found, popping in and out of search results, position 95, 89, etc. And then he started working up into position 20, 11, and currently he's sitting somewhere around position 2 or 3. And you can see how closely correlated clicks and impressions are to ranking for a keyword as well. Obviously, when you're ranking poorly, you're getting nothing. As your rank improves, you're getting more impressions and more clicks. And then once this is leveled off at that position 2 or 3, we're getting very consistent high levels of impressions and clicks. So when I am analyzing Google Search Console and I want to pick a new keyword set, this is a really, really cool process that I've developed over the years. And I've never really heard of anyone else talking about it this way. So I think you'll be excited to hear this technique and hopefully utilize it for your own websites. So what I did here is I ordered these keywords by position. So at this point, I can see keywords that rank number one. I can see keywords that rank number two, number three, etc. Okay. So my goal here is to make sure that at the very worst, we're in the top 10 of search results for keywords that matter to us. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through these keywords until I get past position 10. Okay, so right now we're up to 400 keywords that are in the first 10. We're still in the top 6. 500 that are in the top 8. 600 that are in the top 9. And now I'm into the 700s. So now we're seeing keywords that are position 13, and and kind of in that ballpark. So what I do now is I look for keywords that would present an opportunity for him. So if somebody Googled this keyword, there's a possibility that they might be looking for what he's offering. So I know that, so like this keyword here, nitrile butadiene rubber. Okay. This keyword has a position of 13. And what's really jumping out at me here is that the impression count, 5,273, is pretty high compared to the rest of these keywords. So if I decide that this is a good keyword that's going to bring him business, it's getting a ton of impressions, and we're not too far off the first page of search results or off the first scroll of search results, I'll pull this out and I'll say, hey, let's write a new article on the topic of nitrile butadiene rubber. And there's a very good chance that I will then be able to push him onto the first page of search results because I'll have a dedicated piece of content on that specific topic. And this one here, honestly, not as many impressions, but we also need to kind of analyze this because we only have so much time for content generation. But this keyword is a good match for him because he has a close partnership with a company that makes the rubber molds. And so if he was able to rank for this, it could kind of be a feeder for his business as well. Number one. And number two, this is a very transactional keyword. If somebody Googles the term rubber mold manufacturing, there's a really good chance that that person is going to get into some rubber molding. So that's a great transactional keyword. Whereas this keyword here, nitrile butadiene rubber, is not quite as transactional. Yeah, sure, there's a chance that somebody Googled that and they're looking for somebody that can manufacture it, but not necessarily. So we always kind of have to keep that mindset, top of mind when we're selecting these keywords. Okay, so I think I've given you a pretty good overview of on-page SEO. And the only other thing that I wanted to mention to you is if you're interested, I would be happy to shoot over a copy of two really good tools that I put together that summarize in some areas and go into greater depth in other areas, the topics that I've talked about today. So these are just two PDFs. The first one is a website SEO content template. So this is just when you're putting together a page of content, you can utilize this and just it'll give you specific instructions on how long your SEO title should be, what it should contain, your meta description, your heading, and the body text. So that's the first one. And then the one that you might want to read before that is the keyword selection guide. And so the keyword selection guide is just going to kind of go through the process of, how are you going to analyze what keywords you need to rank for, what's your potential to rank for those, and what kind of result you're going to get if you do rank for those. So those are two tools that I'd be happy to send over after the call.